team player, dog. Seriously, Scott.
Discipline is helping a child solve a problem. Punishment is making a child suffer for having a problem. That's by L.R. Nost, and he was an independent child development researcher and the founder of an advocacy group, Little Hearts and Gentle Parenting Resources. My name is Kylie Trujillo, and I am going to school to be an early elementary educator, and I'm also a parent. And so taking some of these child development classes, I've kind of gained a passion for child development and understanding the importance of child development in a young person's life. There are many important aspects of early childhood development, but I want to focus today on the differences between guidance, discipline, and punishment, and if and when they're effective to use each of them. So first we'll talk about guidance, then discipline, and then we'll end with punishment. What is guidance? According to Marianne, she's an author of a textbook called Guidance of Young Children. She says that guidance comes from many different root words, but collectively they mean to show the way, point out, lead, or direct. So guidance is a positive form of discipline, and the National Association for the Education of Young Children, they're a professional organization who has kind of set the gold standard across the country for a child development program. This is what they say about guidance. Guiding children's behavior is something done throughout the day, not just when a child acts in a way that is unsafe or unacceptable. Guidance relies heavily on modeling, and so I like this quote because we don't just guide children's behavior when they've done something wrong. We're constantly modeling. Children are watching our interactions with the people around us, in our families, in our neighborhoods, the way that we offer respect and how we negotiate and share, and they think those things, and then they see that as what is socially acceptable behavior. Kind of going along with discipline, or with guidance though, is next is discipline. Discipline is from a Latin root to mean teach or learn. So discipline can be positive or negative. Sometimes discipline has a negative connotation. But this woman right here, her name is Magda Gerber, and she was a passionate advocate for children and parents. She was also the founder of RIE, which is Resources for Infant Educators. She had 5 points about positive discipline. Establish rules, expect the rules to be obeyed, be consistent but not rigid, give choices, and avoid power struggles. Further, Magda said that she sees discipline as being a social contract in which family members agree to accept and obey a particular set of rules. So while discipline is necessary, we have to have that high level of demandingness for our children with a high level of responsiveness. So this is what I expect, this is what needs to be obeyed, but I love you and respect you as an individual and recognize that you can make decisions. Different from positive discipline would be negative discipline. That might be nagging a child, having rigidly enforced commands. And we have to be careful with negative discipline because it can lead quickly into punishment. And we'll kind of just lead right into punishment and talk about what punishment is. Punishment comes from a Latin root which means to impose a penalty, rough treatment, or take vengeance on. Verbal punishment might be yelling, threatening, belittling. Physical punishment, spanking, twisting arms, pulling ears, and pinching. There are some punishments that are acceptable if they're used sparingly and if they match the misbehavior. I'm not here to judge, trust me, I came from a family where spanking and yelling was the norm, but we just have researchers who have found the way that it can impact children's development and their self-esteem. We can see from this, and also according to, when we're talking about why punishment is harmful, according to the Gunderson National Child Protection Training Center, and they're a group who dedicate their time to help end child maltreatment through education and training, they say that punishment can lead to anxiety, anger, humiliation, and or alienation from the caregiver. So we can see that punishment can be harmful both physically and psychologically in a child's development. Let's talk about just a couple of examples of maybe harmful punishment. So let's say we have a child, Natalie, she smacks her brother Brent, and her dad comes in and says, I'm gonna spank you so you know how it feels. That's not very effective for two reasons. One, that statement, so you know how it feels, kind of illustrates that the dad is seeking vengeance, right? That sounds like a revengeful statement. Also, it doesn't really match the behavior. I don't want you to hit, but I'm going to hit you. So it kind of sends mixed signals. A form of positive punishment that I talked about, used sparingly if it misfits the behavior, would be, let's say Ben is on the playground. He's not playing very nice on the slide. He's sitting at the top, he won't let other kids go down. So his mom comes over and says, Ben, you aren't playing appropriately on the slide. You have a timeout from the slide. You need to go find somewhere else to play. This is appropriate because she's taken the slide away, and that is how he was misbehaving. So we can see that there are in some cases, that punishment is appropriate, but most often, guidance and discipline to get used together is the best way to go. And as I come to the end of my remarks, I hope that you feel you've received unbiased and helpful information to help you understand the definitions and differences and effective ways to use guidance, discipline, and punishment. As I said earlier, there are many important aspects of early childhood education and early childhood in general, but it's important to focus on how these key aspects of guidance, discipline, and punishment can affect the development and self-esteem of young children. I would like to close with another quote in part by L.R. Nost. He said, "Children don't misbehave. They behave either positively or negatively to communicate. Setting boundaries is not about misbehavior, it's about guiding behavior, and guidance is something we provide through everyday interactions with our children."
I thought you were the heckler.
Are there any questions? We have a couple of minutes. We have just time for a couple of questions. Are there any?
So was that example of Natalie and Brent, was that a
Oh,
true,
totally real.
true like?
No.
That was my childhood.
No, people used our real. They're real people, but just using. Yes,
You mentioned in the beginning that you're a mother.
I know.
What type of discipline or guidance do you use?
That's a good. The question was, I'm a mother, so what kind of guidance or discipline do I use? We try and do a lot of modeling, my husband and I both. But as far as discipline, I really like that Mom did. One of her points was give choices. The thing about choices is you have to be okay with both options. But I can say to my toddler, would you like to play with bubbles now or in 5 minutes or whatever I want him to do. That gives the child, because children like to feel like they have control because they're always being told what to do and where to go, and they like to have control. So by giving those choices to him, they're both choices that I'm okay with, but it gives him the power to choose what he wants.
Is that also one of your choices you use?
Not always. Any other questions? If there's no other questions.
So now I have a question.
Absolutely.
I'm reading this punishment that is okay if used sparingly. So let's, I can't remember if your illustration of Natalie, did Brent hit Natalie? Let's say Brent hit Natalie.
Okay.
Okay, so that's not a good thing. So what kind of discipline are you using there?
Okay, so this is where it gets tricky because we strive to be authoritative, right? So there has to be a consequence, but modeling how it might make Natalie feel when she's hit, that it's not nice to hit, that we need to use our words when telling, asking Brent, why did you hit Natalie? And if he says, well, Natalie took my toy. Well, then say, okay, Brent, if Natalie takes your toy, it would be better to say, Natalie, I don't like that you took that toy from me. May I please have it back? Hitting doesn't resolve anything, but the reason that I said that by coming in and then spanking Brent sends those mixed signals that you can't hit, but I'm going to hit you as a punishment. So it's important that we go ahead.
No, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. So it's important that we kind of get to why Brent's feeling that way, and then model either with our words or guide, for future ways that are more effective to communicate that unhappiness.
So what happens when Brent's not getting the clear picture? Like this has gone now, this is the 5th time he's hit poor Natalie. She's getting fed up and she's about ready to box him
Natalie
back.
needs to give him a
Natalie wouldn't
toy.
let it happen that many times, so.
Little Adrian, please.
And that, I think that, I mean, at that point, it comes down to your parenting style and what you think is appropriate. I don't have all the answers, and everyone's going to parent a little differently. Like I said, I came from a family where there was spanking, and if you think for your family and you agree that at that point, because he's not getting it, that that's the way you're gonna go, that's up to you. But it just really depends on the children and what will get through to them. Yes.
Okay, what about like temper tantrums? Like as far as they're losing it in the grocery store and you're just kind of like, I mean, what is like?
I don't know.
Proper way of.
I don't know what like researchers would say, but as a mom, I say, peace out, and I just let him throw his tantrum. Because by feeding the behavior, then he's like, oh, this is what I wanted. I wanted attention, so I'm gonna throw a bigger tantrum. I say, I'm gonna go over to the next aisle, are you gonna come with me? And once he realizes that I'm gone, he stops crying and watches. Okay, guys, thank you for your time.
Thank you.